our compatriot from down south, because Craig is quite ill right now and could not make the trip up here. So for the rest of this talk, please refer to me as Craig. I'm taking his place, and I feel very not worthy of Craig, because Craig is an amazing man. But first off, we have Mick McIntyre. He is an award-winning filmmaker with a passion for wildlife protection. Mick co-directed the movie Kangaroo, a love-hate story, an investigative story uncovering the cruel and barbaric reality for thousands of kangaroos across the country. And I'd like to pay my respects to Craig, who can't be here today. Craig is an ecologist and Save Kangaroos on the Mornington Peninsula president. He's been running the Kangaroo Walks and Talks pilot program for, 2.5, 3 years now? 4 maybe, yeah. And he has really developed this whole program. So when I say I feel like I'm the young apprentice in the Kangaroo Walks and Talks program, because I have been working with Craig for the last couple of years, I'm just not up to his level of expertise. So I really hope I do him proud. So our presentation this afternoon is about how to run a Kangaroo Walk and Talk workshop, but also give you an update on where we are with Kangaroos Alive. Of course, I am the Kangaroos Alive project coordinator. And we have we got our campaign manager here somewhere up the back there, and we also have Kate up the back there. So this is our team. We're a very small team. So first up, I'd like to take you on a brief visual journey. Please close your eyes and just breathe. Think back to the last time you saw kangaroos in the wild, or imagine what that would look like. How does it feel to see them free? To witness their connection to country, a land they've coexisted with for over 20 million years. Last year in Victoria, while helping build our Kangaroo Walks and Talks program, I had the privilege of watching them in their natural home. I felt a deep peace. Mothers gently caring for their joeys, fathers standing watch over their mob. Young ones playing, learning, belonging. I would like to acknowledge their continuing presence on this continent and our duty to protect it. We wish to also acknowledge the Gadigal clan of the Eora Nation as our traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, and recognise any other people or families with connection to the lands of Sydney and its extended region. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to life of this city and this region. So the UN Declaration is the foundation of all our work for kangaroos. It was created by Uncle Max Harrison from Back to Country. Sadly, Uncle Max is no longer with us. However, we feel his spirit with us always when we advocate for kangaroos. Working with Back to Country always grounds us and brings us back to country and the important work that we are doing. I would now like to hand over to Mick McIntyre, co-director of the award-winning 2018 documentary Kangaroo Love Hate Story. Our advocacy work has intensified significantly, and Mick will outline what is happening on the front lines for kangaroos. Please give him a big round of applause. You can have the clicker.
Thank you, Rick.
Hang on.
Thank you, Rick. And hi, Craig, if you're watching or listening somewhere. We're sorry to not have Craig with us, but he's with us in spirit. Rick wanted me to start this presentation by giving you guys an update, and I think it's a good way of just pointing out that back to what Rick said about our relationship with Back to Country, our relationship with Uncle Max Harrison continues, and it creates our understanding of where the kangaroo fits in the Australian landscape, and we're so proud that we have that opportunity to work with the First Nation organisation Back to Country, and as Rick has already said, the UN Declaration, which I think was in your show bags.
Yeah, everyone's got one.
Everyone's got a copy. That is the foundation of our work. Taking you back, for people who don't know, Kate and I produced the film Kangaroo, A Love Hate Story. What a campaign tool that turned out to be. Basically, we used to joke that it was our $1 million campaign tool, because basically we got to show it all over the world, and it had an immediate impact, as you can imagine. And the biggest perpetrators of the trade of kangaroo products are Europe and the US. So we did focus a lot of our efforts in both those areas. The film was screened intensively in both those places. And we got invited to screen the film at the EU Parliament in Brussels, which again had an extraordinary impact. We had a number of members of the European Parliament come to us and say, well, what can we do about it? And from that, we set up a European task force, a European kangaroo task force with various NGO partners. And it's an interesting life moment for Kate and myself, because how did we do that? We cold called these NGOs in Europe. We either rang them up or knocked on their door, and they were like, "What, kangaroos?" So basically, it's a good example of how to start a campaign. If you want someone involved, just knock on their door and tell them about it. I mean, of course, we had the campaign tool, the film, to watch, and once they'd seen the film, they joined us in this task force. The task force had immediate impact because they used the film. The film was screened at various boardrooms around Europe, and we had immediate impact. Within 12 months of the film being released, we had some major brands stopping the use of kangaroo products in Europe. Some of the big fashion brands, Gucci and Prada and Diodora, along with Europe's biggest supermarket chains. So it was a bit of a no-brainer for the Europeans, because they couldn't believe that this is what was happening to the kangaroo in Australia. And then, of course, a lot of you in this room would know that more recently we've had some great success stories, because I know some of you will have been involved in some of these actions, where more recently in the last couple of years we've also got some of the big sporting brands. We've got the world's largest sports brand in Nike, and the largest sports store, Decathlon, a French company. So yeah, it's good to have campaign victories along the way. And we're also lobbying in the various European parliaments. I think that's us on the steps of the Brussels Parliament in Belgium. And same thing, as you all know, you're all seasoned campaigners, you usually get companies and public first, and the governments are the last to go. So we're working in parallel with the companies and the governments. But the good news is we're having some success in Belgium. This is our friends from Back to Country. We were there. That's in the Flanders Parliament in Belgium. That's confusing in Belgium. They've got 3 different regions, but that's Pete Hewitt from Back to Country presenting at the Flanders Parliament. That, fingers crossed, we might have some good news later on about Belgium. So just keep up to date with us, and you'll find out. But we are making traction in Europe with the various politicians. The idea being that once we get a national government to ban the kangaroo imports, we can then work at a European level, and obviously then the whole of Europe would be kangaroo free. Long way to go, but we are making progress. We're also working in the US. We've got some US partners. Some of you probably know that there are some various legislations being put to various state and legislators in America and in the Congress. We also did a public survey in America, which I'll talk to in a minute, because as I mentioned earlier, Europe and the US are the largest importers of kangaroo meat and skins. This was very recent. This was 2 weeks ago. So we're back home in Australia now. We put on this kangaroo briefing event in the New South Wales Parliament. Big shout out to Emma and the AJP for hosting us. And the intention of this event was that it's been 5 years since the Senate inquiry, and only 2 of the recommendations have been implemented. So we were there to lobby the New South Wales government to implement the recommendations from that Senate inquiry, but also, just as importantly, This is the year where they have to revise and come up with a new, I'm going to quotation marks, management plan for the kangaroos from 27 to 31. So this is a very important year for kangaroos in New South Wales because we are introducing, as an organisation, the idea that this management plan doesn't just focus on killing, because at the moment that's all management plans do. They don't talk about what could it possibly involve coexistence, could it possibly involve First Nation ownership, etc., etc. So that was the other reason, the intention of why we put on this parliamentary briefing event. These are the surveys I mentioned. We commissioned Pure Profile, fantastic company if you ever want any polling done or surveys done. And we now have surveys in Australia, in 5 different countries in Europe and in the US. Big shout out to Mary, who's somewhere here. Mary, our campaign manager. She has done an extraordinary job in extrapolating these reports. So we now not only have Australia as a country, but we also have Australian states. So we have separate reports for each state of Australia, which is very effective because politicians listen to polling. So we now can tell the New South Wales Parliament what percentage of people want the killing to stop. Same in Europe, we can break down the surveys in Europe to all the major importers, so we can tell all the governments of those major importers what their public think. And the same in the US, we can tell, and all of these surveys overwhelmingly say the same thing, that the killing needs to stop. We have public opinion on our side. Whoa, big relief. Because making the film was quite hard because we were up against a lot of opposing forces. So I think for Kate and my mental health, these surveys have been really important because it shows, that we do have the majority of the public on our side. We just have to work, obviously, on getting the legislators to agree. A couple of reports that you might have seen at our booth. Again, important documentation for people who want to be able to talk kangaroo, and we really urge you to be a kangaroo champion and be able to talk kangaroo. 2 of the major issues that people oppose us on is animal welfare and populations. Both of these reports will give you language to help you understand how to oppose those myths that we grew up with. One on the left is self-explanatory. It's a welfare crisis. It's the most barbaric kill you can imagine, and basically that gives you the language to give people to understand that there is no regulation, that there is no monitoring. So all the bullshit that the government tell us is just simply not true, and that tells you why. I'll tell you 2 things that you can take home really quickly. One is that there is no monitoring out there in the commercial industry. There's no monitoring when the animal is killed, so you don't know, no one's watching, no one's photographing it, no one's filming it. They not only that, they cut the head off in the field, so when it arrives at the slaughterhouse where there are monitors, there are government-appointed inspectors, the animal doesn't have a head, so there's no way of knowing how that animal died, so it is an animal welfare sham. So this idea that it's a regulated and humane industry is garbage, and this report gives you the language to say that. The one on the right, counting kangaroos, big shout out to Murray. Is Murray in the audience? Hey Murray, big shout out to Murray Sharp, who was the inspiration for this report. Thank you so much, Murray. It took 3 years, we got there, didn't we? We got there thanks to the help of Murray and other ecologists, but basically this report, same thing, it will give you language. And the best thing about this report is that it's the New South Wales and Queensland, and there's some South Australian stuff in there, isn't there, Murray? Yeah. It's their own data. It's not us coming up with the numbers. Murray came to us and said, the data is really damning. So that's where the report idea came from. I'll give you one really damning statistic in New South Wales that we highlighted at the recent parliamentary event, is that the surveys the New South Wales government do to come up with a population estimate to then justify how many they can kill, they survey 0.5% of the landscape. I know, right? 0.5%. And Then they justify by surveying 0.5% of New South Wales. They come up with the population estimate. The other really big one, Murray, you've got a whole handful of them, I know. I'm just going to give two. The other one that really is striking is that almost a third of the population estimates they come up with are biologically impossible numbers. And any ecologist can show you that kangaroos increase at best over maybe 10% a year. That we are showing in this report that the New South Wales data is showing population increases of up to 30+%. So again, we're dispelling these myths, giving you guys language to talk, because that is a big one. People will come to you with these estimates of millions. It's garbage. We're being lied to. These reports help us get language. Moving on. I'm almost done because Rick's got the most exciting part of the presentation coming. Well, I've already mentioned what we're trying to do with this New South Wales plan is this notion that we don't just want to talk about killing when we come to looking after our kangaroos. And as an organisation, we're always looking for solution-based projects. This is a solution-based project that we've launched with UTS. It's been going 3 years now. We're still... things take time. We're still in the research phase. So UTS have spent the last 18 months surveying, finding landowners and finding farmers that are willing to look at ways that we can coexist with kangaroos on the landscape. This is going to be a game changer. We're at the mercy of UTS's timeline, but they promise us that the findings are really promising. So we're very excited. So keep up to date with what we're up to. But basically, this is this notion that around Australia we can coexist with kangaroos. That farmers and landowners they don't have to have this default of killing them. There are ways that they can learn to live with them. Finally, I'm going to close with some of you might know that I have a background in anti-whaling campaigning. That's how I started as a teenager. I was part of the Save the Whale movement. This year is the 40th anniversary of the moratorium on commercial whaling. 2026 marks 40 years since we implemented this extraordinary achievement. And it was an extraordinary achievement. Not only that, Australia was one of the leaders in driving this moratorium from being a whaling nation till 1978, which isn't that long ago, to driving this moratorium. So, as an organisation, we're saying it's time to do the same for kangaroos and to create this new shift, a paradigm shift in how we treat kangaroos like we did with whales. It's time for a moratorium on the commercial killing of kangaroos. Thank you. Rick?
Thanks, Luke. What's that?
What's that?
It's
a microphone.
I thought you were going to microchip me there for a second. Jeez, I don't belong to anyone. Well, I do, my wife. Okay, so other things that we've been doing. So basically, Kangaroos Alive has been really, really busy. So in 2020, we started World Kangaroo Day, and it is celebrated, of course, on October 24. So I think a lot of you already know that. Since our very first World Kangaroo Day in 2020, Jason Dizzy Gillespie has stood with us as our ambassador. A very proud Kamilaroi man and committed vegan, he continues to lend his voice to the protection of kangaroos. Through the support of our amazing sponsors, World Kangaroo Day continues to grow and reach the world every year. Our kangaroo champions choose courage over comfort. They lend their support and their voice in the rooms where kangaroos cannot speak for themselves. 2020 also marked the launch of our inaugural World Kangaroo Day photo competition, and we are so very honoured to have Steve Parrish serving as our chief judge. Of course, if you don't know Steve Parrish, he is a world-renowned wildlife photographer. Our 2025 photo competition reached new heights, attracting 18,000 views, more than 900 entries, and 2,800 public votes. Steve Parrish returned as our lead judge, and we proudly welcomed UN photographer Anthony Rigby-Smith as our youth judge. And they have both, of course, agreed to do it again this year. Our People's Choice winner was Nigel, a photo of Nigel the kangaroo, So you'll see down there the People's Choice, who became a bit of an internet personality because he was in sort of bouncing around a street. Then he sadly got attacked by a dog, but then recovered. But soon after this photo was taken, Nigel was discovered with horrible injuries and possibly from a car strike and had to be euthanised. Each year, World Kangaroo Day brings out the best in people. From grassroots gatherings to major public events, the response has been extraordinary. So here, if you have a look at the screen, here are just some of the amazing highlights that have happened. In 2025, we launched our exclusive World Kangaroo Day merchandise, which was embraced by supporters across the country. I sadly do not have one on today, but oh yes, Mick's got one, and Mary at the back has got one, and Kate, I think Kate's disappeared now, but she had one. I don't. I've got it at home. This was really cool. We started the World Kangaroo Day photo comp calendar, so we launched that for 2026, and that has just been a raging success. So, World Kangaroo Day 2026 is coming. My question to you, will you stand with the kangaroos? Really do hope so. So now we're getting on to running a kangaroo walk and talk, or as we like to call them, KWATs. So why did we start KWATs? Connection leads to understanding. Understanding leads to protection. Kangaroo walks and talks were born from that belief. Before going any further, following another devastating bushfire season in Victoria, we would like to honour the rescuers and wildlife sanctuaries who are caring for injured animals across the state. Not just kangaroos, but all wildlife caught in flames. Their commitment gives us hope when there is devastation. So firstly, I'm going to give you a very quick brief background into Kate and Mick. Kate and Mick met in 1993 in Japan when they were attending different conferences. You could say destiny brought them together. Their passion for the environment, documentary filmmaking, storytelling, and mutual respect was the basis of a long-lasting relationship. In 2025, Mick received the Peter Singer Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to animal protection. He has done amazing work. Now, you may wonder why we have our logo over a whale. Mick has alluded to that already, but all will be revealed. So now we are in the 21st century. It's hard to believe that Australia was a whaling nation. It started soon after white settlement in 1788 with whaling stations across Australia. Whaling stations bizarrely became tourist attractions. I mean, seriously, who wants to go and see dead whales? Anyway, in the 1970s, the pioneering work of Jacques Cousteau led the way for changes to start happening. There became a new appreciation of whales and all sea life. In the 70s, the Save the Whales movement was created and Greenpeace Australia was born out of this movement. In 1978, there was a Royal Commission into whaling, and then in 1978, whaling was finally stopped. Australia was the last English-speaking nation to whale commercially. What a horrible history for Australia. Then came the birth of whale watching. Mick was very active in his role with IFOR and pushing to make changes for whales. In 1996, Mick and Kate were involved in the first ever whale watching workshop held in Tonga. Whale watching is a big tourist attraction there. Workshops then extended to other nations in the Pacific Islands. Now, I would just like you to focus on Mick just over there, sitting in the audience. And I would just like to point out that that's a young Mick. That is a young Mick up there on the screen. And that's the young... Well, Kate's a bit more recognisable, but... Sorry, Mick. I know, you'll sack me tomorrow. So, Mick and Kate, in 2026, made the highly acclaimed opening documentary, What to Do About Whales. This was the very first film that Mick and Kate worked on together. Mick was the campaign director for this publication. I've jumped ahead. This publication. During this work, Mick got to understand how much more whales were alive than dead. This gives you an idea of just how much each whale is worth in whale watching during its 50-year lifespan. It is worth so much more alive than dead. Australia is now a leading world leader in whale watching. So how does that relate to kangaroos? It's time to rewrite the narrative, and that is what we're hoping to do with our KWAT program. In a survey taken by people across the world, the 3 most recognised icons are the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, kangaroos. Kangaroos are up there in the top 3. Like, let that sink in. Kangaroos are our national icon and used by companies and organisations. Of course, the flying kangaroo. It's on sports teams, our coat of arms, and so much more. So to bring awareness to kangaroos and the importance of having them on the landscape, in 2020 we launched Walks and Talks, or KWATs. This is a quick video. Hang on, I'll go back because it's about to start. This is a quick video that will feature Craig, and it will give you an idea on how Kangaroo Walks and Talks works.
We acknowledge that we're on the land of the Boonwurrung and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present.
Hi there, my name is Craig Thomson. We are here today on behalf of Kangaroos Alive and also Save Kangaroos on the Mornington Peninsula. And it is my great pleasure to be taking you on a kangaroo walk and talk today. When we do walk up to the kangaroos, no running around them and no yelling or screaming as well, because that's when you usually get the best kind of action. Any idea how to say hello to a kangaroo?
Wave.
You can wave, but do you think it will wave back? If you see the little one through there, and you'll kind of start to see them, they're all this year's joeys, so they've probably just left the pouch permanently now. You will, if you're lucky, might see them drink from mum's teat still.
Why would they just put the teeth?
Because mum gives them milk. So kangaroos are a lot like us. They live together in family groups. During the day they'll kind of live in smaller family groups, but then they'll kind of come together during the evening, as we'll kind of see tonight. Kind of like a big family reunion, but they do it every kind of single night. And so kangaroos' ears can turn up to 180 degrees. They actually can move independently of each other. No other species on Earth can do that.
But their tails are like a leg.
They use it for balance, that's right, and they'll use it for balance when they want to fight another kangaroo. Oh, look at baby trying to jump on mum's back. I want to read from the UN Declaration for Kangaroos. Kangaroos are intelligent, sentient beings living in family groups and have their own songlines, language, culture, and dreaming. We declare kangaroos have the right to live in safety, roam freely, and travel uninterrupted through their ancient songlines. Today we hope that the participants will kind of take away a great message about kangaroos, their basic biology, their behaviour. We hope that we dispel some of the misconceptions that people have about kangaroos, and mostly we hope people enjoy themselves and that they kind of leave this event wanting to tell others about it so they can come and learn about what a magnificent animal the kangaroo is.
So as I said earlier, we base our work, including KWATs, on the UN Declaration and are guided by Uncle Max, who grounds us in country. So what is a KWAT? A KWAT is a guided community walk in national parks and reserves, focusing on observing kangaroos, and that's including learning kangaroo behaviour and social structure, ecological roles, cultural significance. So our KWAT behaviour cards, which are in our guide pack, did we bring a guide pack up here? No, we didn't. It's on our table. It's on our table, so come down and see the table, but I'll show you some of the cards in a minute. So the guide pack we have gives you everything you need to know. So walking together in parks makes kangaroos and other wildlife seen and known. Visibility and observation and knowledge becomes protection. And people protect what they love. That is so important. So we know that people love their dogs, they love their cats, they love, their birds. We need to start making them love kangaroos even more. So also, monitoring kangaroo mobs, another important part of running KWATs. It's so cute, I love this photo. So as KWAT guides, it will enable you to always know where your mobs are, ensuring kangaroo viewing for the people who come with you. KWATs also function as a community-based ecological monitoring system. Our guides learn to identify individual kangaroos, track mob size and composition, observe seasonal movements, notice injuries, stress or sudden absences, build informal data sets, document mob stability, record changes after disturbance. Here we go. We have our cards up here. I'll show you those in a minute. Thank you, Kate. Provide evidence during planning disputes. Community knowledge has also exceeded consult snapshots. Now, we do have a situation happening down in Mornington Peninsula right now. And this could actually be a bit of the cause of Craig and him not being very well. Through where he runs his walk and talk, it's a beautiful place in the country. But they have now approved a ski run right through the middle of the kangaroo songlines. So where the kangaroos bounded freely across their songlines, across their cultural paths, they're putting this horrific ski run down there for tourists. So they're destroying part of National Park. Now, he's been fighting this with his team from Scomp for a long time. The fight's still not over, even though it's been given approval, but he's going to be continuing to work on that. To give you an idea of the cards, these are our cards, and I will tell you in a minute also, it's a really good idea to get them laminated. So we have a range of the cards. We have our walk and talk booklet. So if you decide to become a KWAT host, we give you a booklet. We give you all the information in there that you need to know. So our guide pack, as I just said, has these bits and pieces, but it also contains organiser tips, script, facts, behaviour cards, but again, please laminate those because you will pass them around to people who come with you. They will read them. You don't want to have just a piece of paper, otherwise they will get destroyed. A UN declaration, we do cover you for public liability with the waiver, and that's all in the booklet. Direction signs, you print and laminate those. How to hold would you like to hold a KWAT brochure? So if you know some people who are in an area that have kangaroos, if you can't be the host or the guide yourself, you can hand those brochures to them. It will show people what they can do. The UN Declaration, so walks and talks themes. Actually, I quickly missed a couple of things there. There is the Meet the Mob brochure, which is advertising brochure to put into different places. So people you write on when your next walk and talk is going to be and contact number, and they can get hold of you and book in. But we are working on an Eventbrite system where people can actually book in online. There's a time and date poster, a photo of 24 kangaroo species, and the Respect folder, kangaroos that you see there, the Respect Kangaroos poster. That's a lot of stuff to say in after this weekend. So walk and talks themes. Again, I love this photo. Those little legs popping out. And see, this is the thing I love about KWAT so much. Because people will go to a wildlife park and they'll go, oh, isn't it cute We can take food. We can walk up to kangaroos. Kangaroos are so friendly. We can let them eat out of our hands. That's not natural. None of that is natural. To actually witness kangaroos in the wild doing their natural behaviours, to see their family groups, to see the mothers and the joeys react together, to see the strong male overlooking his mob, to see the play fighting that's happening. You don't see that in a nature park. A nature park is just a zoo. And telling people that they can go and feed kangaroos by hand, that is borderline obscene. So it's teaching the wrong behaviours, plus it's teaching people kangaroos are friendly. Kangaroos won't attack you. Kangaroos aren't violent. If kangaroos are threatened, they're going to stand their own ground. You know, you've got to give kangaroos respect. You've got to give them space. The only way that you're going to learn the proper behaviours of kangaroos is to watch them in the wild. So we have a lot of walk and talk themes. The UN Declaration, of course, is the major part. We do talk about family, the boxing, tree rubbing, diet. Actually, Craig and I are working on a new card that's going to come in, and it's talking about the grasses that are beneficial to kangaroos and also the ones that are dangerous to kangaroos. So one of the myths is kangaroos can eat any grass. That's bullshit. They can't. There is certain grasses out there that will give what is called the wobbles, and that is when the kangaroo has been poisoned by that grass. Most people do not know that. So Craig and I are working on a card that we will hopefully get into the kit fairly soon. We talk about the ears and how the ears will move 180 degrees independently. Craig always likes to say that that's like surround sound, that, you know, they're the only animals that have surround sound. We show about communication and greetings, how they actually talk to each other, how they greet each other. We also go through birth and pregnancy. So there is a huge myth that kangaroos breed like rabbits. It is such a lie. It is the biggest lie that is put out by the kangaroo killing industry. So these are just the examples of, if you think that there is somebody who wants to run a walk and talk, you can give them this brochure. So there's some did you knows in there, how to host the kangaroo walk and talk, gives you a little bit more information on the back. We also have, this is the one about advertising a walk and talk. So if you are the host, you can advertise this, and we give you copies of this in the kit. That is the where to meet, of course. We found that one of the first things that Craig found out, that he said, okay, I've got a kangaroo walk and talk, and he put the flag up. We have a teardrop banner, and everybody who runs a walk and talk will get a teardrop banner. And he put the teardrop banner up, and he went, why aren't people coming down to where I am? And he went, oh, duh, they don't know where I am. I've got a teardrop banner up there and I'm standing down here. So we created the signs. Of course, get those laminated. So will you stand up and fight for kangaroos? Now, this is not your normal direct action. This is not going out onto the streets. This is not going out holding up placards. What this is by hosting a KWAT. This is an actual positive form of activism, because what you're doing is you're showing the public what an amazing creature the kangaroo is, how the kangaroo is part of our lives, how the kangaroo is our iconic animal. You know, we are one of the only countries in the world that advocates killing of our national icon. That is such a disgrace. So by hosting the KWAT, it brings people onto country. It helps them to witness kangaroos living freely, build community and understanding and respect, turn connection into advocacy, create local political awareness, be part of a growing national movement, and we will support you every single way. So we want to prove that kangaroos are worth more alive than dead, much like the whales. So our time is now up, but just leaving you with this, Kangaroo Walks and Talks shows that protection begins with presence. By walking together, observing and learning, people become to respect our national icon. I recently was with Dr. Anthony McKnight from Back to Country, and he shared 3 guiding words with me. And they were look, listen, see. They spoke to me deeply and reflect the way we approach kangaroos and country. So if whales can transform coastal communities through whale watching, just imagine what kangaroos could do for Australia. So if you'd like to start a KWAT, please contact us. The QR code there is for that KWAT video. You can contact either Craig or myself. If you are interested, or if you know anybody interested, please send them our way. Thank you so much, folks. We don't have time for Q&A, but I really appreciate your attention.